Lacey.
And I'm Sam.
Welcome to Monster Soup and Creature Brews, the podcast where we talk about all things monster movies, big, small, creepy, or downright ridiculous.
From movie monsters to cryptids lurking in the shadows of folklore, we're here to explore them all. So kick back, grab a snack,
or a drink,
and let's dive into some monster-filled mayhem.
Hello, on this week's episode, we are going to be discussing Godzilla x Kong.
Two ancient titans, Godzilla and Kong, clash in an epic battle as humans unravel their intertwined origins and connection to Skull Island's mysteries.
It's so short.
It's not a good synopsis at all.
No. ChatGPT explains it badly as, Big Lizard and Big Monkey have beef. But then they realize that there's an even bigger problem, so they tag team like WWE champions to punch it in the face. Lots of yelling, buildings explode, and science is basically just magic.
That's so accurate. That's a much better description. The movie opens in Hollow Earth. Kong is being chased by some type of mole rat wolf pack. He leads them to the edge of a cliff where he has traps set up. He springs the traps and kills most of the mole rats. And then he scares the remaining ones off by grabbing one and ripping it in half while roaring, covering himself in its guts. After Kong takes a quick shower, he eats one of the dead mole rats and winces because one of his teeth hurt. This is relevant later, trust me. Kong hears a roar that sounds a lot like his, so he runs towards it, only to find this little frog thing making the sound. It cuts to Dr. Andrews, who's giving a lecture, a tech talk about Hollow Earth and Earth being one world, not two separate ones.
Can I just say her blonde hair threw me, though? At first, I didn't realize that was Dr. Andrews, and I just thought it was a different scientist who was lecturing.
I thought it was the new lead person.
Right, I didn't realize it was her at first, because she had brunette hair in the previous movie, and now she had a short blonde or pixie cut.
More importantly, she cut her hair. She's almost unrecognizable. We see Andrews being interviewed about Kong and Godzilla. And we see monsters attacking different cities and watching Godzilla fight them off. Godzilla bodies pretty much anything that comes at him. And then we see Kong brutally plasma blast. We see Godzilla brutally plasma blast the Scylla into pieces. I just wrote it wrong. The Scylla gets blasted to pieces. Then it cuts to Monarch Outpost 1, talking about Kong going further than he ever has before, away from his area. We see sensors going off and it's indicating some type of activity in Kong's hunting ground. Back on the surface, Andrews is getting reports about the activity around Outpost 1. And then it switches to Gia, who appears to be in middle school, I'm assuming, and having some type of vision. As she comes out of this trance that she's in, she's scribbled the exact same frequency that Monarch is recording all over a piece of paper as well as all over her desk. Andrews speaks with Gia, trying to figure out what's wrong with Gia, and Gia's signed that she doesn't belong here. Back at their home, we see Andrews watching the Monarch archive footage of when the Iwi's tribe was annihilated by a giant storm, which left Gia the only survivor. Gia has another vision that ended with glowing eyes in what looked like a destroyed base. We see Andrews arriving outside of the house of Bernie, our favorite podcaster. He's recording another podcast, and Andrew asks for Bernie's help trying to figure out what these signals are reading and why Gia's drawings look exactly the same as their readings. Bernie goes into a tirade about how Monarch wouldn't acknowledge his help in taking down Mechagodzilla, and Andrews agrees to take Bernie down to Hollow Earth if he'll help her. Andrews gets a notification that Godzilla's on the move. We see Kong exiting what looks like a whirlpool portal, and Andrews is talking to the sender saying that they're watching Godzilla and that Kong doesn't leave Hollow Earth, so he doesn't have to worry about anything. But just as she says this, she gets footage of Kong exiting the whirlpool and arriving topside. Here we get introduced to Trapper, who is a Titan dentist, apparently.
I think he's a vet.
Yeah, I think he's like a vet for creatures out of the norm. Well, so think about tigers in China that aren't necessarily in captivity but are being monitored. Well, he's probably that kind of guy.
No, I mean there are vets that specialize in zoo type animals or wild creatures and things like that. It's definitely a left-hand turn to be wild animals but supersized.
Yeah, but he's still a little different. Because he kind of gives off that, if you've ever seen the A-Team, Howling Mad Murdoch, you know the crazy guy that's on the helicopter propeller, and he's singing Right Round? Oh my god, I've never seen A-Team.
No, I haven't, but he did kind of give me Shaggy vibes.
Yeah, I'll show you a video later.
From Scooby-Doo.
No, trust me, he's Ludicrous Murdoch. He gets on a hovering aerial vehicle, yanks Kong's tooth out, and then replaces it with a metal tooth. Andrews and Trapper have a conversation and kind of hint at that they used to date in college. And Gia signs to Kong to rest. Andrews gets called over by Bernie, who has noticed that the signals are corresponding with every Titan event. And he figured out that the sound waves are a distress signal. I don't know how he came to this conclusion, but apparently he figured out.
I don't understand how they come to half of the conclusions they do in these movies, but that's part of movie magic, right?
Yeah, I guess. As they are explaining this, Andrews mentions that the government has been looking for an excuse to take over Monarch operations, so they want to nip this in the bud before they get wind of what's going on. So they set up a group to head down to Hollow Earth, seeing as they can't get any kind of response from Outpost 1, because apparently they lost contact with them.
Which, when your first thought is everybody's dead if you've lost contact with Outpost 1... Well, just based on the history of Monarch and all of these movies, my first thought would be like, oh gosh, they got eaten.
If it's been years with constant communication and then out of nowhere, nothing, they're just not getting anything, I would assume it's much more likely they got destroyed than there's some kind of communication malfunction.
I love Jurassic Park, and if Jurassic Park has taught me anything, it's that eventually, if you're dealing with, research stations and giant creatures, you will be eaten eventually.
It's a matter of time. Very few people retire from this line of work.
Right? Oh my gosh, can you even imagine what the benefits package would have to look like to get people to work for Monarch? You have to have some crazy life insurance policies happening.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to do this shit. So I know it has to be gigantic.
Well, and fun fact for anybody listening, if you read the fine print in your life insurance policies, a lot of them will include clauses about if you have extreme hobbies or if you pilot small airplanes.
Pilots can't be insured to a degree. Sometimes they just...
You have to have specially written policies. Yeah. So most basic insurance policies will exclude stuff like that. So I can't even imagine what a hypothetical benefits package would have to be like for Monarch employees.
Oh, I would have to... If I'm not loaded, my family at least has to be well off for me to be willing to do this kind of stuff. Anyways, they're getting a team set up to go back down into Hollow Earth. And Gia argues with Andrews to be allowed to go down to Hollow Earth with them. With a little convincing, Andrews reluctantly agrees. And then Bernie also does the exact same thing and manages to get to go as well.
Which is insane, because this is an ultra heavily classified situation. You already know that many people have been wiped out in and around Hollow Earth and Titans through previous movies. And you're like, yeah, my middle school daughter and this guy who podcasts totally hop in this super advanced spaceship and just come on down with us. It's cool.
Nope.
It's cool.
Crazy people. Anyways, they activate the whirlpool portal, and Kong heads in first, and they follow right behind. And after a very uncomfortable ride, I would hate to have to do this little jump they're doing, because it looks very uncomfortable.
As someone who gets car sick, notoriously car sick, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I would not be a good passenger princess in this scenario. I don't think anybody's going to be wanting to sit next to me in the spaceship.
No, I definitely don't want to.
I know, I'm sorry.
I don't want to get picked on.
Poor Sam.
Once they get down into Hollow Earth, they separate from Kong. Kong heads off to wherever he's going, and they head to the outpost. They blend in with some verticines, as Trapper called them, and pretty much lizards with wings that shoot electricity. I can't think of a good Pokemon reference, but Kilowattrel from Pokemon is probably a good example. It's just a flying bird that shoots electricity. Or Zapdos. That topside, alarms are blaring in the Monarch base. Godzilla is making landfall in France at a nuclear facility. Godzilla is absorbing all of the nuclear power, and he sends out a giant pulse and kills pretty much everything in the area. Monarch is assuming Godzilla is gearing up for something. Back in Hollow Earth, we see the crew finding the outpost, and everyone in the outpost is dead. They grab a camera to see if they can salvage any footage off it, and see a giant claw mark, and so they decide to leave with the swiftness. We cut back to Kong, who, after getting back into his cave, grabs his axe and jumps down into a giant ravine, which is what looks like ape skulls. We see Kong walk through a waterfall into a lake and a new area unlocked. There's a little subtitle thing here that's
area unlocked?
Well, that's what it does.
Is this Uncharted?
Well, it has a subterranean realm. And I'm like, did he just unlock the next portion of the map? That's the vibe
he completed enough side quests that he can get to this part of Hollow Earth now.
Well, they do this a couple times where they're whenever they go into a new zone in Hollow Earth, it's every time in any video game where you go into a new area, there's a little postage thing that pops up that's new area. Kong sees a giant shadow in the mist, and it turns out to be a baby monkey.
Ape.
They call him Mini Kong, but I mean, ape is a strong word for this one. Kind of looks like Diddy Kong.
Well, he's orange, so I'm assuming from further context that
He's an orangutan.
That his dad is the like big orange scary dude, and
Yeah.
he's maybe a hybrid ape, which is why he looks a little weird.
I call him Baby Monkey through this whole thing. So.
Oh my gosh! You didn't even upgrade him to baby ape, just baby monkey.
Yep, just baby
For
monkey.
shame, Sam.
Kong tries to beckon it by holding out its hand, and the little shit bites him. And then
I laughed so hard at that part.
Well, we all saw it coming. So Kong gets bitten and then baited into an ambush by a bunch of other Kong-sized monkeys. Kong gets jumped but holds his own, and after he takes out one of the three monkeys attacking him, he gets attacked by the little monkey again. And Kong stands on business and starts using the baby monkey like a club and just start beating the other monkeys with the baby monkey.
It had like Hulk and Loki vibes from the Avengers movie.
Very much so. And then when they try to jump him a second time, he whoops them all, even while outnumbered. And when one of the apes almost falls off a cliff, Kong grabs it by the arm and pulls him back up, just for the ape to grab a knife and try to stab him again. And then he just like Spartan kicks him off the cliff. The other apes try to run, and Kong got the aim though. He picks up a rock and manages to peg the one running away ape, even though the ape eventually gets back up and leaves again. They cut back to Andrews, who's able to pull some footage off the camera, and they think it was an ape that destroyed the outpost. Spoiler, it is. And then suddenly the ship they're flying in starts to lose power and begins to fall. It quickly comes back on, and Gia signals to Andrews that the calling is getting stronger. Andrews says the power outage is probably due to the increased signals that keep going out. And she points to a ridge in the distance and said to head towards it. Because that's where Gia's pointing that, hey, that's where the signal's coming from. They exit the ship in the jungle under the ridge. Trapper lets a fucking huge ass mosquito take its blood, citing only females do that to grow their eggs. And first of all, nah. I don't care what it's doing, whether it's propagating or what. If a giant mosquito lands on me, I'm fucking killing it, because I don't know what kind of malaria, insane, ancient
virus
disease.
is caught happening.
Yeah. Like, why would you just, like, I don't care what it's doing. That doesn't mean it's not carrying all kinds of diseases and crazy things. Trapper's a fucking idiot.
Honestly, it's not even that I, like, don't feel for their situation. My instinctive reaction would be to smush it, because it would hurt.
It was fucking huge.
Like, if it bit you, it would hurt, and
Yeah.
I think just out of instinct, I would go to smush it. And then afterwards be like, oh, oops, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
My bad.
Anyways, they keep trekking through the jungle until Trapper stops everyone and says something is out of place and something's wrong. But McKeel, who's the pilot and the guy for the mission, states he doesn't see anything on his thermals, and he's not going to trust some nutcase with, and I quote, his Ace Ventura hippy dippy nonsense.
Which, in his defense, fair, because it would be hard to take Trapper serious in some of these moments.
Yo, that Ace Ventura comment was legit, though. He looks like
He's got
Jim Carrey did in Ace Ventura.
He's got the same, like, outfit happening.
And hair.
Yeah.
Like, it's all Ace Ventura. And surprise, surprise, like 5 seconds later, he gets eaten by a tree.
Okay, I jumped so hard at that moment, though, when he's just insulting Trapper and then turns around and sucked up by a plant.
I can't remember what movie that is. Was that one movie where Samuel L. Jackson's monologuing and then he just gets eaten by a shark? Was it Deep Blue Sea? Whatever that movie is, where they're like stuck in an underwater facility trying to like kill a shark. The shark shark comes out of nowhere and just eats him. That's kind of what happened. He just gets eaten by a tree.
But it's hard because Samuel L. Jackson is in everything.
That's true. It's hard.
So sometimes, like he's on Snakes on a Plane, for instance. Like he's just in I think he just shows up on the movie sets and is like, "What's this one?" and takes a left, and all of a sudden he's in a rom-com.
I mean, he was in a Kong movie. Back with Godzilla, he's pulsing with nuclear energy to the point where none of the fighter jets that are like trying to follow him can even get close at this point. Monarch are tracking his route, and it appears he's heading to the Arctic Circle. The only Titan in that area is Tiamat, the Serpent Titan. Tiamat's lair is this area with the most concentration of Arctic winds, aka the highest concentration of nuclear energy. So we can guess what's going to happen if he's able to absorb all that. Back with the crew, they discover ruins. Gia signs that the symbols on the ruins are from her people. They discover a mural with a depiction of Mothra. While looking at a bug, Gia hits a button that opens a well that pours water into a pathway, and they follow it all the way until they get to some type of like membrane wall. It literally looks like a living wall. They touch it and it sends out bioelectric resonance, and Gia just rips through it and a bright light shines, and then they enter this cave. And when I say bright, I mean I would never just open up a random wall and just be like, oh look, heaven, let's go in there. Like, they can't see anything in there. It's literally just a bright shining light coming through.
Well, and the texture of the membrane would give me pause, because like when they touch it, it sort of jiggles.
Oh, and glows.
Yeah.
Like I said, it says bioelectrical resonance. Electrical sparks, every time they touch it, it like sends out a little jolt.
So just having watched other movies, and hypothetically these characters have dealt a lot with Titans, and all of them seem to...
Just forget that, anything and everything can kill and eat them.
Well, no, just all of them seem to like sort of hatch from like pulsating glowy egg situations, and I'm looking at an entire wall that is now pulsating and glowing. My first thought wouldn't be like, oh, this leads to a new area of the map. I've unlocked a new level. No. My first thought is, good God, what laid this? What is it?
I'm gonna die. Like my previous statement stands. It's going to kill and or eat me.
So I don't think I would have like just been like, let's walk in, let's go explore.
Back with Kong, who's still following the baby ape that came across a giant lake. Kong heads into the water to drink when he gets attacked. The baby ape is still playing with fire, baiting Kong again into a trap. A giant serpent starts scrapping with Kong, and we see the baby ape attempting to escape from Kong. And then he gets tripped by Kong's axe. Kong throws the head of the serpent in front of the baby ape, and then they head back and just sit down on some rocks. Kong eats the serpent, and then shares a part of the serpent with the baby ape, which watching the Titans eat is just fucking gross.
Well, all their blood is green, which is just extra nasty.
Well, they're just like, picture someone eating just a raw fish. Just like, catch a fish, break off its head, and just start chewing on it. Yeah. That's what the Titans eating looks like.
I feel like baby Kong here is being a lot more understanding than I would be if I had just received shaken baby syndrome.
Oh,
in the
right?
last scene.
They cut back to the Arctic Circle, but their sensors aren't working because they're too close to Tiamat's lair. I'm assuming there's like frequencies going on. And because they can't locate Godzilla or Tiamat, they almost get toasted. Because Godzilla sends a plasma beam right into Tiamat's base, and Tiamat didn't take kindly to their home getting like a new window, because he blows a hole straight through it. It immediately comes out to attack, and in quite possibly the shortest fight ever, they have like a little underwater battle. A supercharged Godzilla, though, just sends one blast, and it shoots a hole through Tiamat. Godzilla heads into Tiamat's lair and starts absorbing.
It's kind of sad, actually. Tiamat looked like a pretty chill Titan.
Tiamat doesn't do nothing. It's just hanging out in his lair.
Really, honestly,
Godzilla?
Godzilla's being pretty rude right here.
Right?
He basically just committed like assault burglary.
To be fair, all of the other Titans are kind of Godzilla's bitches, so it's his right to do what he wishes with all his subordinates.
I just felt bad for Tiamat. Imagine you're just sleeping in your like glow-in-the-dark hole, and all of a sudden someone just like...
Listen, there's a way to avoid this. Get the fuck out the lair if you see Godzilla shooting plasma breaths in. Instead of trying to scrap.
I maintain it was rude.
It was 100% rude, but you gotta know your place. Our group down under get quickly surrounded by, you guessed it, another set of Iwi people. Gia's people coming around. They get brought to a giant crystal pyramid. Gia signs she can hear the Iwi people's thoughts. Andrews looks up and discovers multiple whirlpool portals that could lead to anywhere on Earth. The Iwi people can apparently communicate telepathically, and Gia goes off and walk up the pyramid steps to speak with what looks like their high priestess. When Gia makes contact with the priestess, she sees visions of her people. Gia signs to Andrews that the beacon that they have been following was the Iwi's people calling for help. And this signal that's been going out is what woke Godzilla, and he can hear their distress signal and is apparently gearing up for war. Bernie drops the funniest line in the movie. I love Bernie. He always has like the best one-liners. And SOS for what? They already live in a nightmare monster hellscape. Which, let's be real, is facts.
I like the response when Dr. Andrews is like, she can understand you.
Oh yeah. Once he learns the High Priestess can understand everything he's saying, he follows up with, oh, a monster hellscape is a great place to raise a family. Yeah, Bernie, they give Bernie the best lines.
They really do. But, like, I'm with Bernie on this one.
Like, who are you asking for help? Like, you're literally in the shit.
How much worse is it gonna get? Because there's some pretty nasty stuff down here.
Yeah, like, they're literally, it's like inviting a wolf in to get rid of the bear. Like, what are we doing here? We follow the priestess to a chamber where they pour some, like, glowing liquid into a pool that spreads out all across the ground and starts lighting up Iwi text all over the ground, which they say Iwi text, but all I see is, like, lines. There's no runes that, like, glow or anything.
Maybe their version of it. I don't know. It definitely looks super safe and not carcinogenic at all.
What are you talking about? It's clearly irradiating, and the only difference was it wasn't green. It was, like, bluish white or whatever.
Right. Definitely it's something you want to spend a lot of time being exposed to. Your teeth are not going to fall out. You're not going to die horrifically.
Yeah, as this pool of water starts spreading across the ground, it apparently lights up Iwi text. And then Andrews, who's apparently fluent in Iwi, starts reading, and a lot of this is going to be like a word for word. In the beginning, Hollow Earth lived in harmony with the surface world. The Titans were the guardians of nature, and the great apes became the protectors of humanity. But a great evil threatened the peace. A powerful, ruthless ape, desperate to conquer the surface world, led his tribe into war against the one they call the monster who ate a star. You guessed it, it's our boy Godzilla. The war with the apes nearly destroyed Godzilla, but after a great battle, he imprisoned the apes in a fiery realm of Hollow Earth. Their false king remained obsessed with reaching the surface. The Iwi people call him the Scar King. This felt like, have you ever watched Samurai Jack? When it was like a show on Cartoon Network, and whenever they did the opening, the greatest evil of all time, Aku, would take over the world, and it was up to Samurai Jack to save the world. That's what it felt like.
No, because my family was weird and we didn't have TV for most of my childhood. And
I didn't have TV either. I saw this at a friend's house. Yeah, you didn't have friends. It's okay, I get it.
I did have friends, but I lived in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I went, oh yeah, I guess you had it much harder than I did. Once I moved to Sarasota, it wasn't as bad.
I lived in like rural, like swampland, North Florida. It took us an hour to go get groceries. There was limited friends, and most of them didn't have TV either.
Well, I guess it was pretty hard to get cable out there, too.
The few people I knew who did have TV, they had, like, satellite dishes. And, I don't know, it was the 90s. Their parents watched what they wanted to watch, and they made us go outside. Like, we really weren't allowed to watch their TV.
Yeah, Samurai Jack, strong part of my childhood. But it was giving off Aku vibes.
Occasionally, my grandma would let me watch Oprah with her if I was agreed to be quiet.
While they're going through this little, like, mystical history lesson, we see Kong and the baby ape. The baby ape is leading Kong into the very same fiery realm that they talk about that the apes are imprisoned in. And the apes are pretty much being treated like slaves. There's even a few heads mounted on pikes. We see an ape signaling to the baby ape. And we see an ape getting attacked by a guard who gets helped out by Kong. That guard starts yelling at Kong. Have you ever seen those videos of people yelling at people that are way bigger than them and then just getting decked? Yeah, just picture that, except with apes. Kong just decks this dude in one hit.
This entire scene, all I can say is I, like, felt baby Kong's energy. Like, his anxiety spoke to me.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Because, like, the whole time he's like, and he's in panic mode, and that would be me if I was a monkey and in this situation. If I was an ape and in this situation, I would be vibing just the same. Yeah, anxiety all over the place.
Very, very hectic, and the whole time it's like, yo, Kong, chill. We just got here. Why are you punching people? Anyways, and he knocks this other ape, this guard ape, in one punch. The ape that attacked Kong earlier runs over to some guard apes and starts signaling and screeching towards them. And the Scar King exits his throne and roars at all the other apes, and all the other apes start bowing. Scar King...
The Scar King has, like, the creepiest proportions. His arms are, like, way too long for his body, and he's, like, thinner than the other apes.
He's definitely got that orangutan look, because orangutans have, like, those huge, super long limbs. Yeah.
He does, but he doesn't look 100% like an orangutan. They took some liberties here with the character design.
That's why I said they kind of look like more like monkeys than apes, at least the orangutan guys.
Yeah.
Because of the shape of their heads. So orangutans usually have really long faces. This one doesn't. He has more like a chimpanzee.
He gives, like, the Slender Man version of ape vibes.
Oh yeah, super skinny. Yeah, Scar King and Kong square up, and the Scar King,
Scar Kong.
the Scar King points out Kong's metal tooth, and literally starts pointing and laughing, and everyone around joins in. So it's literally just a bunch of apes like pointing and laughing at Kong, which is a crazy thing to do because Kong has that huge ass axe and he's bigger than every other ape there.
So his tooth is metal now, so if he bites you with it, it's really gonna hurt.
Yeah, he gets him back later. Kong expresses way more human mannerisms in this movie than he does in any of the other movies. The Scar King locks eyes with the baby monkey, or baby ape, and he freaks out and starts charging the baby ape. The ape that signals the baby ape earlier jumps in front to defend him, and when it looks like the Scar King is going to turn back and back down, he turns and kicks the ape that was protecting the baby ape into the pool of lava that's close by. The baby monkey starts crying and Kong roars, and then they start fighting. Scar King takes the whip that he's wearing and gets ready to fight Kong. He whips out and Kong grabs it with his hand, but then gets cut by the tip. So the tip has like a little spear tip on it.
Just the tip.
Yeah, I know. It took a lot of effort not to put the joke in there, but you said it
I had
anyways.
to. It was right there. I had to pick it up.
Yeah. Scar manages to grab Kong's axe with the whip and tosses it aside. And then he manages to get the whip around Kong's neck and almost chokes him out. But Kong manages to break free and toss Scar. And then Scar King points the tip at what looks like an ice dragon. He uses the whip tip to control the dragon somehow to shoot an ice blast at Kong.
So I gave this some thought as I'm watching the movie, and it took me a lot longer than it should have to realize the whip is a spine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that tip is one of maybe a different ice dragon's crystal. I don't think it's her spine.
Well, yeah, obviously not. It's clearly like another ice dragon spine, and the tip is somehow managing to control the other ice dragon.
Right, like there's got to be some sort of communication in between their like ice crystals, for lack of a better word, because this ice dragon is covered in these like kind of like clear bluish crystals, and that's what attached to the spine. So we can assume morbidly that maybe this was the ice dragon's mom or dad, and there's like a blood relation there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me way too long to realize that was a spine.
Yeah,
and then when I did, I was a little bit disturbed.
It took me all of 3 seconds because the whip is literally bones. So like it has to be something. Yeah.
Nope, sadly, way too long for me.
He uses the whip to control the dragon to shoot an ice blast at Kong. Kong manages to dodge the first blast and scoops up his axe and blocks the second. But the blast is too strong and the axe gets knocked out of his hands, and the result is his arm gets frozen. He manages to shake off the ice, but his hand's clearly damaged, and just as the ice dragon is charging up for another shot, the baby ape signals at the cave entrance, and Kong dashes for it and escapes. The Scar King picks up Kong's axe and signals for his minions to chase after him. Andrews continues to translate the Iwi text, stating, "Trapped within their subterranean realm, the Scar King manages to harness the terrible power, the ancient titan Shimo. He controls her with pain. Her power covered the earth in the last ice age. Andrews thinks that since they brought Kong down to Hollow Earth, he has been getting closer and closer to their prison. And the Iwi knew it was only a matter of time before they were free, so they sent out a distress beacon, which means that Godzilla is gearing up for World War III. Bernie points out that he barely survived last time while he was alone. The Iwi believe that when Godzilla returned, there would be an Iwi from Skull Island that would come and wake up Mothra to help Godzilla. Now I'm still trying to figure out how she was able to interpret. Because some of that was, it's written. And the other part sounds like she was guessing, or...
I'm just assuming that maybe the Iwis are using their magical telepathy powers and communicating with her a little bit.
Nah, it's very clear she can't understand all the Iwi stuff. Now, if Gia was signing to her because she's talking with the priest, that would make sense. But Gia's not even in these scenes. So I don't understand what... I don't know.
Iwi magic.
Like I said, leaps in logic. It's very frustrating to try to wrap your head around sometimes.
Iwi magic. I don't think too hard on it.
I think I left off. There's going to be an Iwi from Skull Island that's going to come and wake up Mothra to help Godzilla. We see Kong escaping with his one damaged arm, and all of the Scar King's minions are coming after him. Kong runs through the area that he set up traps for, and one by one the apes fall into the traps. And when the last 4 manage to corner him, they see the trip line that he had set up for his trap. And so they manage to walk over it and not set off the trap. But the trap springs anyways, and they die under the rubble. It turns out Mini Kong sprung the trap. I'm going to start calling the baby monkey Mini Kong, because baby monkey is longer than Mini Kong. And that's what the subtitles say his name is. So I'm just going to start calling him that. Mini Kong sprung the trap. Kong almost collapses, but gets helped by the Mini Kong as they walk away. We see Gia playing with the other Iwi children as Andrews talks about having to let Gia go if she ends up wanting to stay. Bernie, who's recording the Iwi as they move stones around to control gravity, which is kind of crazy. Trapper convinces Bernie to not post any of the footage that he's been recording because it could destroy the Iwi's way of life when the outer world finds out about them. In the middle of their conversation, we hear a horn go off, and the Iwi let down their shield around their village as Kong walks in. One of the apes that was chasing Kong managed to survive the trap that got sprung, and he followed them all the way to the Iwi base. He sees all the portals to the surface and heads back to report to Scar King. Kong passes out when he finally makes it to the Iwi base, and he wakes up long enough to touch tips with Gia. I don't know why they keep doing this little Mighty Joe Young tip touching thing, but he passes out.
I don't like the phrase tip touching. They touch fingers.
The tips of their fingers.
Yeah. Tip touching sounds dirty, Samuel.
Tip touching. I think it's funny that he passes
Touch
out
your
and then
tip.
wakes
It
up
just sounds
long
bad.
enough to touch tips with Gia.
It just sounds bad.
Trapper checks out Kong and notices the frostbite that's all over his arm. Mini Kong runs away screaming, and we see the ape that escaped report to Scar King. Scar King, atop Shimo, calls out to all the apes to march. Godzilla, after finally absorbing all of the radiation, bursts from the ice in Tiamat's lair. Godzilla was physically changed after absorbing all the radiation. You can literally see that his spines have changed shape, and he's glowing.
They're different colors.
Yeah. And then Trapper, after looking over Kong, decides to go after some hardware they were making to make Kong stronger. The funding got pulled out when they were making this prototype, but the prototype was sent over before they had managed to in production. Trapper went to Outpost 1 to pick this up. He sends it out and attaches a mechanical arm to Kong's arm, which injects some kind of fluid into him to heal him. And then, after the mechanical arm attaches, it becomes fully functional again. Kong is officially Jax from Mortal Kombat. Gia signs to Kong that they need help. Kong heads to one of the portals and heads back to Earth to lure Godzilla to Hollow Earth. Kong gets spit out very close to pyramids near Cairo. It's not long before Godzilla discovers Kong and starts heading his way. Kong roars into the sky and Godzilla seems to hear the call all the way in Greece and dives into the water to head towards Kong. Back with Gia, who's attempting to awaken Mothra, and lo and behold, she succeeds. It takes no effort. She literally just walks up to the cocoon, touches it, and Mothra hatches. Mothra flies away to go after Godzilla. The Iwi start setting up a way to slow down the Scar King, while Trapper leaves to bring quote-unquote reinforcements. Godzilla finally arrives, and Kong tries to stop and convince Godzilla. This scene is so funny. Godzilla and Kong lock eyes, and then Godzilla always stays on busy. He just starts charging him, and Godzilla's like, no, wait, hold on.
Kong's like, no, wait.
Yeah, sorry. Kong is trying to wait, hold on, I'm not trying to fight. And Godzilla does not give a fuck. He just starts scrapping.
No, he pretty much just attacks him, and then Kong's like, well, fine then. And then they just start beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Godzilla's just hands first every day of the week.
Nothing productive happens for the next couple scenes. It's just Godzilla and Kong bitch slapping each other.
Yeah.
And ruining property.
Yeah, they destroy
Which city was this?
thousands. It was Cairo. There's just pyramids, so it's an outfit.
Okay.
They're just wrecking all of these pyramids.
Las Vegas, Boston, Cairo, Hong Kong,
Pensacola,
San Francisco.
Was it Mexico where Rodon was?
It was in Mexico, but I don't remember the name of the city.
It was a volcano. It was I think it might have been an island. I can't remember. Plenty
Mexico doesn't
more
have
places.
islands.
What?
Mexico's not. That doesn't have island. Mexico is just it's all connected up there.
Yeah, but it's near the coast. Well, I say island, I just mean there's water nearby.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, they're basically just ruining more cities. I like though. Earlier in the movie, you see a bunch of scenes where Godzilla's sleeping in the Colosseum.
Oh yeah, in Rome.
If I fits, I sits. Basically, he takes on a cat mentality and just is sleeping in a
If I fits, I sit.
a sacred monument.
So, anyways, they start scrapping. Kong kind of gets the upper hand because he's got a jet punch now. He's rocking that Mecha Godzilla tech. With his new augments, he clearly lays him out, but Godzilla never goes out quietly. So as Kong is dragging Godzilla by the tail towards the portal, he starts charging up, and Kong has to sprint using the pyramids as a shield. Godzilla charges out of the dust, so when he blasts, he creates a giant dust cloud, and Godzilla just comes pounding out of the dust cloud and curb stomps Kong. And right before he's about to finish him off, he's charging up the finishing blast. Mothra shows up and breaks up the fight. It was very Rayquaza breaking up Groudon and Kyogre. And they all seem to come to an agreement and head back to Hollow Earth. Meanwhile, the Iwis are setting up this gravity trap to slow down the Scar King from getting to the surface. And just as they finish prepping, Scar King breaks through the little membrane shield that was protecting the Iwis from the outside. And just as the Iwis are about to set off their gravity trap, the Scar King beckons Shimo to stop the two crystals from touching with an ice pillar. It works, and just as they were thinking of to find another way to slow them down, Trapper comes flying in with a flock of the verticines, the like flying lizards, and Trapper lands and they all hop back into the ship. And just as they're taking off in the ship, gang makes their entrance. Godzilla and Kong just like meteor explosion through a portal. I mean, there's no graceful way to fly through those portals. You just literally get fired in and it's like a launch cannon.
No, but I thought the little, like, flying lizards was kind of a brilliant call because it really helped turn the tide of everything.
Yes, at least slow everything down because it distracted all of the other apes from being able to attack, like, as a group.
They put off these electric charges, so most things don't really fuck with these flying lizards because, you know, if you bite it, you're going to get electrocuted.
Yep. So after they make their grand entrance, they all wind up for their little Avengers moment. Scar King is on Shimo and is charging. And Kong is on Godzilla, who's charging. And then they jump at each other, and they're about to clash. And then right as they're about to clash, the ice that was keeping the giant crystal pyramids from touching shatters. And then gravity just, like, warps. So everybody's just essentially, like, 0G floating around. And the pulse causes the ship that they were flying in to lose power. And so the crew starts falling while the Titans are all in anti-gravity mode, still scrapping. Godzilla's like a fish in water because he's like tail whipping Scar King and jumping off of other rocks to head towards Shimo. Scar King isn't to be outdone though because he starts using the floating rocks to head towards Kong, using both Kong's axe and his whip to move Kong out of the way so he can head towards a portal. Mothra starts playing goalie though and starts webbing up all the portals that the Scar King is heading towards, trapping the Scar King onto rocks so he can't get away either. Shimo tries to freeze Godzilla, but with a timely intervention, Mothra's just fucking the MVP here. Because Mothra's like playing goalie against Scar King, protecting Kong from Shimo's blast, and then eventually saving the crew who's falling out of their ship. So if without Mothra, this would have been over a long time ago. Like people would just be dead.
Honestly, even in the other movies, Mothra's pretty OG.
Mothra's just doing its thing. So right as the gravity inversion's about to end and everyone starts falling to the ground, we see the snitch ape, the ape that went and reported everything to Scar King, attack the mini Kong, who gets saved because the gravity starts happening again, and they land on a crystal, and he manages to kick the ape over the edge. Scar King, who's tangled up with Kong while they're falling, uses Kong like a springboard to head towards a portal, and the crew who were stuck in the ship with no power start free falling because gravity kicked back in, and they get, like I said, they get saved by Mothra. The Scar King manages to make it through a portal, and Godzilla and Shimo both fall into the same portal, and Kong tries to use his axe to stop falling into the portal, which causes him to lose his axe, and he falls into the portal anyways. And they all get spit out at another city about to get destroyed, Rio de Janeiro, who are in for a pretty bad time. So they just show a bunch of people on a beach, and then all you see is a giant wave getting frozen, and you know there's people in that water getting fucked up. The giant wave gets frozen over by Shimo, and as Shimo and Scar King land on the surface, Scar King uses his like little whip tip to force Shimo to make an ice cloud in the sky, and then starts blasting Rio. Scar King gets punched out by Kong, and Shimo gets blasted by Godzilla. Scar King gets back up and spits out a tooth, and Kong starts laughing at him. Kong literally points and laughs at him. And I'm like, yeah, this is justice. This is Kong getting revenge.
It's a very full circle moment where he's like, "Ha, you made fun of my tooth, so now I'm gonna make fun of your tooth. You suck."
Right? Kong starts laughing at him. Scar King tries to force Shimo to attack Kong, and he gets intercepted by Godzilla attacking Shimo. And then the slugfest starts. It's Godzilla vs. Shimo and Kong vs. Scar King. And it's essentially like Team Super Smash Brothers. While they each have their opponents, Scar King is constantly having Shimo to try to like play both sides. So he's having Shimo attack Kong while he's attacking Kong. And then Godzilla keeps just playing interference.
I think why this doesn't always work so great is that Shimo's not really interested in being in this fight. She's being forced to be in this fight. So like when your heart's not in it, you're not going to really fight as hard.
Yeah. Scar continues to order Shimo to attack Kong, and while they're fighting, they catch Kong off guard, but that leaves Godzilla time to, like, supercharge, and he barely dodges Godzilla's plasma and tries to whip Godzilla, who catches the tip with his teeth, and then yanks Scar King around, and then he pulls the tip out of the whip, and it just throws it to the side. Underground, we see Mini Kong notices Kong's axe stuck in the wall next to the portal. So he leaps to grab the axe, and then pulls it out of the wall and falls into the portal. Scar notices the tip on the ground and tries to get it, but gets shot by Godzilla. And then we see the baby Kong pop out of nowhere, and then boom, he swings in with the axe and manages to destroy the crystal. And without the tip, Scar has no way to control Shimo anymore. And with a little encouragement from Godzilla, Shimo attacks Scar King with Godzilla and Kong. And it's the team up of the century too, because they start tossing Scar King like a rag doll until Kong manages to grip Scar King in his hands, and then Godzilla points at Shimo, and Shimo freezes Scar King, and then Kong shatters Shimo to a million pieces, and then Godzilla shoots a plasma blast into the ice cloud that got created at the beginning. And then we see Gia, who's apparently been riding on Mothra this whole time, return to everyone. Andrews lets Gia know she can stay with her people if she really wants to, but she's like, nah, fam, I'm staying with you. She's like, why would I want to stay here when I have like TV and food I'm never going to get here? I agree with her. I mean, she can come back anytime she wants.
I was about to say, based on their technology and Dr. Andrews' like access.
Yeah, like she pretty much runs Monarch right now.
Seems like she could kind of do, the whole like split custody thing where she maybe spends summers with the Iwis and then goes back to Dr. Andrews during the school year.
Right.
It doesn't have to be all in or nothing.
Yeah. So Gia's like, yeah, I'm staying with you. We see Mothra resealing the barrier that got destroyed by the apes for the Iwi land. Godzilla goes back to sleep in his Coliseum in Rome, and Kong rides Shimo back to the subterranean land to become the king of the apes. Yep, and that was the end of the movie.
You know what I think would be a better use of some of Monarch's technology?
What?
They've clearly set up all these advanced research stations. Shouldn't you map some of these portals and, like, if they consistently spit out in various cities, like, warn those people somehow? Like, hey, BT Dubs, you're on top of a portal, and you might just not want to live here anymore.
Here's the thing, though, is that the only portal they know of is the one that they're using. So they know about that one. There aren't any other portals to the surface. If there were, the subterranean guys would have already found them. All the portals seem to be hidden by the Iwi land that's sealed off by Mothra, so they can't get back to the surface.
I disagree, because the
I'm
whole
sure
point of Skull Island is that there are multiple, like, portals and pathways.
No. Skull Island is Hollow Earth brought to the surface. So while there might be a path from Skull Island to Hollow Earth, there's not, like, portals like there are...
Well, and then they used a different portal in the one where, What's-his-face
when
dies.
They were recharging Godzilla? Yeah, but they didn't know where that was. They just got caught into a whirlpool, and they got spit out somewhere else.
I'm just saying, there clearly are portals, and it seems like it would have been a good use of time to
map
them.
They literally, in the Kong versus Godzilla, they literally have a map of Hollow Earth that shows all the pathways and shit. The problem is, they needed a way to be able to travel through without dying. So every attempt they had to get into Hollow Earth ended up killing them because they didn't have technology. They have it now, but I don't know. It's all a bunch of sci-fi mumbo jumbo at the end of the day.
It'd be a good idea in the future to be like, hey, Rio de Janeiro, you're right next to a portal. Heads up.
Come on, these are new portals though. They didn't know about these.
No, these ones are new. I'm just saying in general. I feel like it would have been good use of somebody's time.
Well, I think they keep them secret so the mass majority of people don't know because they don't want people trying to investigate. Because then they have not murder cases. People just end up dying. Because any normal person that tries to go to these portals without the proper technology are just going to get crushed.
But they end up dying anyways because stuff comes out of the portal and squishes them.
Yeah, but that's not on Monarch.
It's kind of on Monarch a
little
bit.
Nobody told them to live there.
Monarch be fucking with stuff they shouldn't be fucking with. That's all I'm saying.
No, facts. Monarch is the reason Monarch isn't helping anyone. Monarch's the bad guys. Mm-hmm. They're the ultimate villains. What were your thoughts about the movie?
I like this movie. I liked it a lot. I mean, I wasn't totally on board with all the magic crystals.
I wasn't okay with the telepathy thing either, because they went from this is all based in reality, just with giant monsters, to the technology is making leaps and bounds and advancements. There's people who have telepathy and powers. I was like, this is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the X-Men at this point.
But overall, I really liked the movie.
There was lots of scrapping in this movie, so I'm about it. There were hands everywhere. So this is right below 2014 for me. So it's number 2 for me. Okay. Actually, it might even be number 1. It's pretty close.
Okay, so what's your official ranking then?
It would probably be, and I mean, 1 and 2 are probably interchangeable, but it's probably 2014, Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong, Skull Island, and then King of Monsters. King of Monsters is hot garbage. It was okay, but it was garbage. compared to the other ones.
Fair. I wasn't a big fan of King of Monsters either. That just wasn't my jam, I don't think. But yeah, I guess for me, I like Godzilla x Kong the best. Kong Skull Island the second best.
14?
Yeah, so 2014 Godzilla, then Godzilla versus Kong, and at the very bottom for me, King of Monsters, because it just wasn't really here for that one.
Yeah, that would, like I said, it just ran on too long.
Unpopular opinion.
There wasn't enough fighting for me. That's what I want to watch. Giant monsters duking it out. And they really got at it in this one, so I was about it.
Thanks for tuning in for Godzilla x Kong, and if you want to hang around, we'll be going over a MonsterVerse moment in just a second here. On this week's MonsterVerse moment, we are going to be talking about the power of crystals in honor of our iwi friends in this movie who have magic crystals. Probably shouldn't call them that, to be totally honest with you. So the belief in crystal enhancements or powers, or however you really want to think about it, goes back a really long time. We're talking like thousands of years here. And across like different civilizations and cultures, crystals historically have been used for healing, protection, spiritual guidance, and technological advances. Mostly because I'm tired because I spent all last weekend camping. I'm not going to go into a crazy amount of depth, but just we're going to kind of briefly touch on each of these items. So Mesopotamia. The Sumerians were some of the first on record to use crystals in rituals and for medicinal purposes. Often would grind them into powders for healing, which probably actually wasn't that great for wounds.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. Don't let people fool you. That was not a good healing method.
Like, if you're like, what's really going to solve your tuberculosis? Let's grind
Crystals.
out some quartz.
Yeah.
It's probably not actually that great, but that's, evidence of it happening.
Little topaz. Sprinkle a little topaz in there.
Right, you'll be fine. Shh, don't worry about it. Ancient Egypt used lapis lazuli, carnelian, and turquoise in jewelry and amulets, believing that they provided protection and enhanced spiritual connections. You'll often find many jewels in their burial chambers. They would often place quartz on the foreheads of their deceased to help guide them into the afterlife. Ancient China, jade was highly valued for...
Yeah, jade's really popular in China.
Yeah, it was highly valued. Oh my gosh, why can't I say valued? Words are hard, people. Jade was highly valued. Oh my god! Jade was highly valued.
Is it spelled wrong?
No, I'm just stupid.
I was like, if it's spelled wrong, you can understand if you keep slipping up.
Jade was incredibly valuable for its spiritual and physical healing properties. It was believed to bring good fortune and longevity. In ancient Greece, the word crystal comes from the Greek kristallos, meaning frozen light.
Crystallis.
Or ice. The Greeks used amethyst to prevent drunkenness and hematite for protection in battle. Which, you know what? The next time I go to like a pub crawl, I'm just going to hand someone like an amethyst and be like, you're good now. Don't worry about it.
You're going to wake up great.
Right. India, in ancient Hindu scriptures, describe the healing properties of crystals like quartz and sapphire. There is a traditional Indian healing system which incorporates gemstones for balancing energies. During the Middle Ages, crystals were used in religious ceremonies and healing practices. Alchemists studied their properties, believing they could be used to harness spiritual and medicinal power. In the Renaissance, scholars and mystics associated crystals with astrology and divine energy. Many Native American tribes used crystals like turquoise for protection, healing, and spiritual connection. Honestly, it's
a collective effort.
It really is. When you read about it, it's pretty much universal. Just about every culture has some sort of
crystal mumbo jumbo healing
link with gemstones and crystals for some sort of purpose. Indigenous Australian cultures regard quartz as a sacred stone with strong spiritual energy. African shamans use crystals and rituals for divination and communication with spirits. Alright, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit here to modern use of crystals. In the 19th and 20th century, the New Age movement revived interest in crystals for metaphysical healing. Quartz became essential in technology, especially in watches, radios, and computers due to their physioelectric properties. Today, crystals are popular in holistic healing, meditation, alternative medicine, and with many believing that they balance energy and promote well-being. I feel like we've all seen salt lamps for sale at Walmart.
We all have friends who live and die by crystals.
And then just to bring it a little bit closer to home for you and I, we live in Arizona. We're about an hour and a half away from Sedona. And Sedona is famous for its red rock landscapes and its reputation as a spiritual and energy vortex center. It has become well known for crystal enthusiasts, healers, and those seeking spiritual growth.
Those dang hippies.
Yeah, kind of. So, Sedona is believed to have several energy vortexes, which are powerful centers of spiritual energy that people believe enhance meditation, healing, and personal transformation. These vortexes are thought to amplify the effects of crystals, making Sedona a very popular destination if this happens to be your vibe. And in reference to these movies, Scylla came from Sedona during King of Monsters. Even though they did not do it justice. Seriously, Google it. It's actually very pretty.
Well, I thought it was interesting they picked Sedona for Scylla to, like, exit from, because...
29 Palms would have been a way better place for that kind of vibe.
Well, it's just it's a water creature. Like, it's the first monster that Godzilla destroys at the beginning of this movie. And it's, like, clearly a water beast. Like, why wouldn't this come out of the Mediterranean or something?
Or even, like, send it a little further south to Camp Verde. It could have come out of the Dirty Verde. That's the nickname because the water's brown. It's actually the Verde River, and people just call it the Dirty Verde. Also because it's a river and people do bad things in it. People go there to party. Okay, so there are 4 main vortex sites in Sedona. They are Cathedral Rock, which is supposed to have feminine energy, which I learned means that the energy is supposed to go back into the earth, so it has an inflow of energy.
Oh, very well.
And the energy goes back into the earth. I learned this because I didn't know that. And then Cathedral Rock is supposed to promote inner reflection. And then there's Bell Rock, which has balanced energy, so both feminine and masculine energy, supporting grounding and spiritual growth. I'm going to say this wrong. Bonton Canyon is supposed to be a mix of masculine and feminine energy. It's balanced as well, and that's ideal for harmony. And then there's Airport Mesa, which is supposed to have strong masculine energy, and that means that the energy is supposed to come out of the earth. So it's supposed to be an upflow of energy, so that's what makes it masculine.
Is this analogous with, like, sex?
I think so, yeah. I think this is really just euphemisms for, like, penises, I'm gonna be honest.
Women take it in and guys shoot it out?
Yeah, I think that's why it's feminine or masculine.
Wow, they really just went...
Somebody who loves Sedona is about to, like, drag our podcast real hard because I said penises. Okay, anyways, Airport...
I like how the masculine site is called Airport Mesa.
Airport
Literally
Mesa.
the dirtiest, the worst places to be.
It's supposed to be good for enhancing motivation and vision. If you want feminine energy, Cathedral Rock, that's for inner reflection. Masculine energy, Airport Mesa, for motivation and vision.
The other two for harmony and balance.
Sedona has a lot of shops with crystals and healing centers, and they offer pretty much every kind of gemstone you can think of, really. Amethyst, quartz, turquoise, hematite, red jasper.
It's crazy that crystals are single-handedly keeping some people in business.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
Well, do you remember that documentary about the Twin Flames cult we watched?
Yes.
And they featured those...
Yes, I recall.
Their giant amethyst crystals.
Yeah, they had like a literal giant crystal in the middle of their house.
It's like the size of our toddler.
It was huge.
The reason why people travel to Sedona to purchase their crystals as opposed to ordering them online is that there's a general belief that the vortex energy enhances the crystal's potency. And then some people actually will bring their own crystals to the vortexes to, like, charge them.
I should just start a He-Man Crystal Heaters Club. It just sounds so funny to me.
You and Jesse from Australia Married at First Sight.
Yes.
Like, just start a hate club.
What is it?
Star Sign
Girls?
Chicks.
Yeah. Star Sign Girls and Crystal Girls.
No, he says star sign chicks. They're on his ick list.
Oh, yeah. That's just so funny. Yeah, I actually don't care, but I have a few friends who they get so into the crystal scene that, like, I have to, like, keep a straight face because I'm like, you can't possibly take.
They're gonna
this
listen to your podcast and know you're a hater, Sam.
I mean, I'm very upfront about, do they really think this is helping? Just, most of my friends, though, don't substitute actual medical care for, like, crystal healing.
They
just
don't
like,
grind up that turquoise and put it in that leg
no,
wound?
they will try to use crystals to heal it first, and when that doesn't work, they'll like, I guess I'll pay the doctor.
Yeah. And then, in addition to having vortexes and numerous crystals, Sedona is also home to healers and energy workers. So Reiki and energy healing, chakra balancing, sound therapy, guided meditation, yoga, etc. Really, if you're looking for a pretty place to get back to nature, if you genuinely
It is beautiful out there.
Yeah, if you genuinely are passionate about crystals, this would be a good place for you to add to your bucket list. Essentially, is where.
Honestly, it's just a great place to. It's a great place to visit. They have a lot of good restaurants out there too.
Well, the hiking's really great. Although, just PSA, if you are not from
lots of water.
Yeah, if you are not from the desert type climates, you don't sweat out here, and so you will dehydrate shockingly fast, and they will call 911 if they can. Unfortunately, we have very poor signal in a lot of areas of the state.
Not to mention, a lot of rescue services can't get to where you are without a helicopter.
No.
And even then, if the ground's uneven, the helicopter can't land. So at most, they can drop you supplies until people can hike out there to get you. Lots of people die on every year out here.
Yeah. So just PSA, if you do plan to hike in Sedona, do your homework. If it's in the summer, go early in the day or late in the day. Have lots and lots of water, and then take your time and go slow, because if you end up in trouble, it might take our rescue services a while to get to you.
I like how this turned into like a desert life PSA.
Well, yeah, you gotta warn people, right?
Right. And it's not just Sedona though, but like anywhere in Arizona, because we're all mountains. So like, people will come out here and they want to hike, and they're not used to the elevation. They're not used to the heat.
They're not used to the dry air.
Yeah.
Because it sucks the moisture from your body.
Yeah. Without you even knowing. It's
Like
not in Florida, you're dehydrating because you're sweating like crazy. It's not the same out here.
No, well, and I think because you don't feel bad and you don't feel sweaty,
it just hits you.
It hits you
like a truck.
It hits you like tequila.
Yeah.
It hits you like 6 shots of tequila, and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I feel awful? It's because you have no water.
Pass out.
Yeah. So, in summation, if you enjoy crystals, come visit Sedona, but bring your water, and check out Godzilla x Kong, because it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye.